Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by watching this week's video. I got a special one for you this week, and we're going to talk about a movie, a special little movie called Orochi. So let's go ahead and get into it. So what makes Orochi so special? Well, let's start off with that initially it was banned by Japanese censors because the original title was called Outlaw, and they didn't really want to glorify being unruly or unlawful and promoting lawlessness in Japan. So they went ahead and they censored it, and they said you can't show it unless you change the title. So they changed the title from Outlaw to the Japanese word for serpent, which is Orochi. And for some reason, that made things better. Not exactly sure how, but it did. So the other important thing to know about this movie is that it is a silent movie. So that means that it is an old movie. It is about 97 years old at this point. It was made and released in 1925. So it is one of the first round of movies that were made in Japan by Japanese filmmakers, Japanese actors, the whole nine yards. So this in and of itself makes it special, but it becomes even further special by knowing that this is one of like maybe 4 or 5 films from that era that deals with a samurai story. That's right, there's not very many complete silent movies from that time period, and there's a variety of reasons why, mostly because of 2 reasons. One was that the original film stock that was used in the 1920s and 1930s was highly flammable, so a lot of these things did not survive the rigors of time because they would catch on fire and they would just, that would be done. So very few prints were survived fires. Also, because of that film stock, it turned out to be very brittle. So if you didn't take care of the film itself, the actual film itself, it would basically be unusable. So this happened a lot. So that's one reason. The second reason was, of course, the Great Kanto earthquake. So a lot of these movies that were made around that time of the earthquake disappeared because it really destroyed pretty much everything of that nature. So for Orochi, that's more along the lines of that the film stock was very brittle, very flammable, so it was hard to find prints of this. Now, the silent movies of the 1920s, they were just like silent movies anywhere else. There were, you made the movie, you had narration cards that people could read, and you usually had somebody inside the theater playing an instrument to playing the score to the movie to kind of help you, guide you through what was going on. Now, in Japan, they actually had narrators to read the cards because not everybody was literate. And these people were called benshis. And a benshi was just that, a person who was basically a voice actor. So what they would do is they would not only read the narration, but they would put inflection when characters are talking, and the narration card comes up with a quotation, and they would read it as if they were that person. So they were the first Japanese voice actors. Just to kind of give you an idea, Akira Kurosawa, the famous filmmaker who made Magnificent Seven, his older brother who got Akira interested in movies was a benshi himself. So just kind of give you an idea. So this has great historical value, and as it was made to be a samurai melodrama. It's about an hour and 20 minutes, so it's not very, well, by our standards, not very long, but that was a feature-length film back in the day, and it's actually pretty good, honestly. And there's a couple other things that you should understand is that the actor, whose name I'm going to try to read, of course my Japanese is horrible, so if I butcher it, I sincerely apologize. The main actor is Sumaburo Bando. And this guy at the time was very famous as an actor, and he was noted for playing samurai roles on stage, in kabuki, regular stage theater, and eventually in movies. And what also made him popular as an actor for directors to use in samurai movies is the fact that he actually learned swordsmanship with a katana. So he actually knew how to use a samurai blade, a katana blade. He was actually versed in that. And while he would never be, a grandmaster swordsman, would you rather have a guy who knows what he's doing as opposed to someone just running around going, ah, right? So this guy got hired a lot, and plus he was a good actor. So this movie was very, very popular. And this was during the Taisho era, so there's a lot of, at this point there was a lot of, what they were trying to do was kind of connect samurai Bushido culture and trying to connect it to modern technology and things. And this movie was an attempt to do that, and but it kind of went into a different direction. And the reason for that is because of the story itself. The story of Orochi is kind of interesting because it tells you a lot about how the strict samurai code and culture itself was often harmful to the samurai themselves. Like, there was a lot of ways that you could get yourself killed by just simply saying the wrong thing, or being disgraced by simply not doing something by accident or through misunderstandings. And that's really what this movie is about. Orochi is about a samurai. He's about a mid-level samurai, so he has stature, he has a degree of wealth, he has a family, he's noted, he has honor, like people respect him, respect his judgment, things like that. And the movie starts with him and his fellow samurai and his superior, a higher level samurai, in a restaurant, drinking sake, and everyone's getting loaded, everyone's getting drunk, and his character decides, I'm kind of getting drunk here. I don't want to be totally wasted when I get home. I don't want to be, I want to be, actually I want to be able to get home, and I don't want to have my wife yell at me because I'm so drunk. His superior offers him, of course, a refill on his sake cup, and that's a proper thing to do. You don't, pour for yourself first, you pour for others. And by having your senior single you out and say, hey, let me refill your cup, that's something of an honor. It's not a huge honor, but it's just like, oh, this guy acknowledges me, and that's a certain degree of respect. So the guy, Orochi, he declines it politely, saying, hey, look, I'm really wasted, but thank you so much. Please avail yourself. And of course his superior gets angry about it and picks a fight with him, and everybody in the room kind of knows that the superior is wrong, but because he is the superior samurai, nobody wants to take Orochi's side. And so that's his first disgrace. And the rest of the movie is basically him going down this downward spiral of doing things and being misunderstood, and people going, oh, you're an awful person, you're an awful samurai. And just kind of thing after thing after thing, disgrace after disgrace after disgrace. His status keeps getting cut down further and further and further, until to the point where the community pretty much hates him, even though he really didn't do anything wrong. He's innocent. But his problem is that because he's a samurai, part of his code is, if someone tells you did something wrong and they're your superior, you kind of have to suck it up and just go, okay, I take responsibility for that. So he takes responsibility for all these things that are not his fault. And after a while, because he's so beaten down by the community, because everybody hates him so much, and because he's so reviled and nobody wants to deal with him, and everyone just wishes he were dead, he starts to believe that he is the villain. And at the end, towards the end, he starts behaving in a way that's almost villain-like. Like, he starts doing things and then he stops himself at the last second. You're thankful that he does. You're like, no, please don't do that. You're a good guy. Don't do that. And he stops himself, but he can never reattain the respect that he once had. And so this movie is about falling from grace through a stupid culture, a stupid thing, a way to go about life. And in the end, it's this very, very long and protracted fight scene between him and multiple people. And the ending is just so sad. It's just so sad. I don't want to spoil it, but it's so sad because you're just like, you understand, you feel for this guy. And keep in mind that this is a silent movie from 1925. Now, what's interesting about this is that for its time, for its period, there's some interesting tracking shots that you don't really see in silent movies around the world that you do see in this one. There's an overhead tracking shot that kind of draws back that you really don't see anywhere else in 1925. So there's some innovations going on in this movie as well. And again, this is kind of like a statement of how, while it's good to have a Bushido code and being a samurai and honor and all that stuff, you kind of need to move forward with the times. And that's one of the big things about lessons of the Taisho era, which is, you know, we need to be modern. So some things we're going to take with us and some things we need to leave behind. And that's what this movie is sort of trying to message out. And like I said, this is actually a pretty well done movie. The scenes where he fights, the fight scenes, are intentionally speeded up to cause effect. You know, to give you the idea that, you know, the flurry of combat, so to speak. And there's a lot of jump cuts that make you go, oh, okay, you know, put you on the edge of your seat. So it's a very well edited movie as well. So should you see this? Yes, absolutely, you should see this. Here's my caveat. I have still yet to find a version that has an English sub to it. They do exist. I'm told they exist. I've actually seen a clip where I saw some dubbing happening, but in terms of seeing the actual full movie, it's kind of hard to find. I think there might be one on YouTube. I'm not sure. So if you want to watch it, instead of anime this week on the SciTube channel, I'm going to put this movie over there. I'm going to put Orochi there, but just understand that there aren't going to be any English subtitles, but you should be able to, with my description of what's going on, you should be able to piece a lot of things there. You're not going to get the minutia, you know, that kind of thing, but it'll be very interesting because you're also going to hear a Benchi, because they decided at one point, basically a lot of cinematographers had asked for this movie to have a narration put to it, have trained up a person to be a Benchi, in this case it happened to be a woman, and to do the narration for the movie, so that we would have a Benchi doing that. So that's the version you're going to get. So if you want to see it, there's over there. And hopefully, if YouTube will allow me, I'm filming this before I actually obviously get to put this up, so I don't know if YouTube is going to let me, but I'm going to put a little clip, a little fight clip at the end here. So, you know, if you want to skip to watch it, go ahead. Hopefully YouTube will do that. If not, then just ignore everything I just said. Okay, so that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, stopping by. We're doing the weekly dig Sunday nights around 7 o'clock now, give or take a few minutes. So I hope to see you there. And as always, have a good one. Love you guys, and I will see you next time.